Okay guys, this is the FZ Audio IEMs, and in this video I'm going to review two different IEMs. This one is the Z2 and this one is the Max, and both IEMs are bassy IEMs with very prominent sub bass and mid bass. So if you are a bass head and you like bass a lot, I highly recommend these two IEMs. Hi guys, my name's Ian. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do mostly audio product reviews, and if you like this type of content, do consider to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you guys get notified of my future videos. Right, so let's get right into the review. I'm going to review the Z2 first, and then I'll move on to the Max. And let's go through the accessories that it comes with, the comfort and the fit, and then we talk about the sound. Right, so the Z2. So this is a single dynamic driver. As you can see, comes in this cute box like this. It's a waifu anime picture of a waifu and playing the violin. It's a pretty small box, right? So this company is called FZ Audio. The specs, so let's just go through the specs. Sensitivity is 116, frequency response is 20 to 20,000 hertz, impedance is 22 ohms, and that's just about it. Pretty standard stuff, right? So let's take a look at the what comes in the box. Of course, instruction manuals, paperwork, QC check, certification, blah blah blah. Ear tips, right? These are standard silicone ear tips, right? Pretty soft. It's not the really hard type of ear tips, so it's pretty pliable, I would say. Yeah, fits my ear. Wide bore, so the bore is pretty wide. It's not the narrow bore type. Comes 3 sets, and small, medium and large, so hopefully you can find one that fits your ear. And the cable, right? So this is a pretty familiar cable. It's 2-core. It's not the braided type that you typically see in Chi-Fi IEMs, but yeah, it's a single core. In fact, 2 single cores in one sleeve, and it's terminated with a 3.5 headphone jack. And the Y splitter is plastic, as you can see here, and the ear hooks are pretty okay. I would say it's the same as some of the KZ IEMs that I've seen. The shape of it is a little bit off, but it's not too stiff, and it's not too soft as well, so I can apply it to the shape of my ear, no problem. It doesn't cause any hurt. This is the 2-pin connector, QDC. So if you have IEMs that are 2-pin, that is 0.75 if I'm not wrong, then it might not fit, but then again, I would suggest to use your own cable on these IEMs. And these two, as in the Z2 and the Max, they share the same type, exactly the same type of accessories. So I'll just go through the accessories for the Z2 and then go straight to the Max. Right, so accessories done. Let's take a look at the IEM earphones. Right, so these are currently retailing for $21 and it's pretty typical. I mean, if you have seen shells from KZ, TRN, and all those other brands, they have that same typical shell. The faceplate, you have either green or blue. I chose the green, and the design here looks pretty typical as well. It's got some vents here, but these are just for aesthetics. They are not functional at all. You've got the logo of the FZ Audio. 2-pin connector, right? This is the QDC style. The nozzle is made of brass. It's a pretty wide bore nozzle, and this is the inner shell. Inner shell is clear, semi-clear, right? And on the inside, you do get a 10 millimeter dynamic driver, and that's about it. So it's pretty standard shape of an IEM, right? Where you get a pretty good shell. Now, fit and comfort. I like the fit and comfort of these type of shells. I've had a few of these types of shape in terms of the inner shell, and I find that they fit my ear really well, and it doesn't cause any physical fatigue, and it can stay in my ear for a long time. I can tolerate this type of shell for a very long time. So yeah, fit and comfort, they are really good. Okay, now let's talk about the Liberty Max. It comes in a box like this. Cute anime girl. Again, from the box you can tell that this is meant to be a fun and bassy IEM. So yeah, on the back you do get some specs. Let's just go through these specs. Sensitivity is a little bit different. It's a 118. The frequency response is 20 to 20,000 hertz. Impedance is 16 ohms. Okay, so pretty standard box as well. I'm not going to go through the accessories because they are exactly the same as the Z2. So I'll go straight to describing this IEM. So this is retailing for $28. It's a little bit more expensive than the Z2, right? But yeah, it's got a similar shell. The faceplate, the front facing faceplate is I think it's aluminum. It's got a different type of design to it. 2-pin connector, QDC. On the inside is a clear blue color shell. Oh, by the way, it comes I think in 3 colors: blue, green, and red. So yeah, check out the website, take a look. Right, it comes in a few colors. And on the inside you do get an 8 millimeter dynamic driver, right? So this is a single dynamic driver. Nozzle is made of brass, and it's got a metal filter on it, and it's pretty wide bore. Okay, so yeah, pretty standard stuff. In terms of fit and comfort, this one, which is the Max, does have a fin on the top end of the shell. Unlike the Z2, the Z2 doesn't have any fin. And actually, to be honest, the Z2 fits my ear a little bit better than the Max. So in terms of fit and comfort, this fits my ear a little bit better than the Max. Even though both of them don't give me any physical fatigue, and I can wear both of them the whole day, but this one gives me a better fit and better comfort. Both have a very good seal, right? So don't worry about the seal. It also depends on the ear tips that you're gonna pair with these earphones, IEMs. Basically, the ear tips are the one that determine the type of seal that you get, and also the back in the back of the shell. But basically, the seal is about 60 to 70% cutoff of the ambient sound. Okay, so I'm done with the accessories. So now let's talk about the sound. So for that, I've measured these two IEMs, and let's take out my graph, and then let's talk about the sound. So be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and as you can see, I've graphed and measured these two IEMs. The green line is the FZ Audio Liberty Max, and the red line that you see here is the Z2, right? So if you can tell from the graph, just by looking at the graph, these two IEMs are a V-shaped tuning or tuned IEM, meaning the sub bass, in fact the bass region and the treble region, is elevated and the mids are recessed. Okay, so before I go into the frequency response and how to interpret, how I interpret the frequency, let's talk about the technicalities of these two IEMs. In terms of soundstage, the Max has got a wider soundstage. The width of the soundstage is pretty okay for both, but I would say the Max has got a wider soundstage and a taller soundstage as well. This one doesn't have much of a height to the soundstage, and in terms of depth and the layering and the separation of the sound, I feel that the Max has got a better depth and layering and sound separation as compared to the Z2. So I think in terms of the technicalities, it's got something to do with the 8mm driver. So this one right here has got an 8mm driver, and this one right here has got a 10mm driver. So in terms of technicalities, this one is a little bit better than the Z2. So in terms of soundstage, the depth and the imaging, this one has got a better quality as compared to the Z2. Imaging, both of them are really good. You just need to spend a bit more time trying to pinpoint the instruments on the Z2, and you've got to listen harder. But for this Max, even at low volume, it's no problem for the Max. So for this Z2, it's a little bit shy as compared to the Max, but both of them do perform above average for technicalities. In terms of resolution and detail retrieval, I feel that the Max has got a better resolution and detail retrieval in terms of nuances of sound, which sometimes I can't pick up on the Z2, which I can pick up on the Max, and also the sounds clearer and more resolute as compared to the Z2. Okay, so technicalities wise, I feel that the Max has got a better performance as compared to the Z2. Now let's talk about the sound signature and the different components of the sound. Let's start off with the Z2 and the sub bass. In terms of the sub bass, this has got a pretty okay sub bass. It's a little bit rolled off, and the extension is a little bit short as compared to the Max. So in terms of the rumble and the tone and the timbre, let's talk about the tone and the timbre for these two. In terms of the tone and the timbre, the Max has got a warm and heavy type of tone that it produces, and the timbre is a little bit more of the soothing side and a warm side. Okay, in terms of the Z2, it's more of a neutral to natural sounding type of sound signature, and the tone that it produces is a little bit different from the Max. So in terms of the note weight, this has got a little bit lighter note weight as compared to the Max. So if you ask me which one I would prefer the more of a natural sounding tone, and I mean the note weight is a little bit on the lighter side, but I'm okay with that as long as the tone and the sound that it produces sounds a bit more natural, which is more to my liking. This one is a bit warm, and the note weight is pretty heavy, pretty strong and present type of note weight that it produces. Okay, so let's talk about the sub bass. So for this, as I mentioned, the sub bass is not really extended. The tone and the timbre of the note is a little bit on the lighter side. It sounds natural to neutral type of tone. Extension is not as good as the Max, and yeah, I would prefer the sub bass on the Max for this. and the rumble is better in terms of the extension, in terms of the clarity, in terms of the control of the sub bass and the resonance of the sub bass. This one's a little bit better. Mid bass, right? So this is where I would prefer the Z2. So Z2 has got a really impactful mid bass, a pretty light one, no doubt, but is really impactful and it's really prominent in the mix, and it does vibrate my eardrums to a certain extent. So in terms of the impact of the mid bass, is on the lighter side, as more natural sounding. So kick drums and some other impactful instruments, they do have that impact when they are in the mix. So I really enjoy listening to mid bass and drums on these IEMs on the Z2. If you look at the graph, right, this region here, around here, is the mid bass and the sub bass, but it's somewhere around here. So in terms of the mid bass, right, you can tell that the mid bass of the Z2, it's pretty much more than the max. So in terms of the mid bass, this has got more quantity and more presence of the mid bass as compared to the max. I'm not saying that the max doesn't have or doesn't produce impactful mid bass. It's just that it is not as impactful than the Z2 when you listen to them side by side on the same song. So in terms of mid bass, I would prefer the Z2, and it's really impactful. And if you look at the mid bass, I mean the sub bass and the mid bass, this dotted line here is the Harman target curve, and just take a look at how much more in terms of the presence as compared to the Harman target curve. The mid bass and the sub bass of these two IEMs, they are really much more. So imagine listening to the sub bass and the mid bass on these IEMs, they are really prominent. In fact, this one is even more prominent than the max. Okay, so let's talk about the mids. So mids, I mentioned that they are recessed, but in a certain way. If you take a look again at the mids, so mids is in this region, right? So if you take a look at the mids, in terms, it's comparison to the target, Harman target, the mids are still elevated. So it is recessed, but not to a really recessed position whereby you can't feel the mids and you can't hear the mids. You can actually hear the mids and actually feel the presence of the mids. So instruments like the pianos and the guitars and the trumpets, flutes, they do sound present in the mix. And if you take a look at these two, the Z2 has even more mids as compared to the max. So if you ask me, this one right here, which is the Z2, is really forward when it comes to the mids. They're not shy. They just a little bit laid back as compared to the sub bass and the mid bass, but they are not shy. And the mids, in terms of the instruments, they have that natural tone to it. It's a little bit light on the tone, but no doubt it sounds natural. So I really enjoy listening to instruments on these IEMs. But comparing to the max, right? So if you take a look at the graph right here, as I mentioned, the green line is the max. The mids is not as forward as the Z2. So I would find it a little bit lacking, a little bit laid back, but the tone and the timbre, it's got a very warm tone and very lightweight, very heavy note weight, not lightweight. And so because of that production of sound, it makes the entire track very soothing to listen to, not too forward, not too in your face type of presentation to your ears. So in terms of the instruments, I would say this one would sound a bit more forward as compared to the Max. Okay, the Max would sound a little bit laid back. Vocals, I would say male vocals, they sound really great on the Max, and they sound okay on the Z2. Now let me explain why. The tone and the timbre on the Max, they produce very nice warm tone and very heavy note weight, which is advantageous to the male vocals. So that brings out the authority and the presence of the male vocals in the track on these IEMs. As for the Z2, because it sounds, male vocal sounds a little bit on the lighter side, a little bit shy. The authority is there, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're still forward, as I mentioned. The mids are really forward on these. It's just that the tone and the note weight is a little bit on the lighter side. So male vocals, they don't sound as authoritative as the Max. Okay, let's talk about female vocals. Female vocals, I would prefer to listen to them on the Z2, right? And female vocals, they sound bright and sparkly on the Z2, and it sounds better as compared to the Max. In terms of the treble, so if you take a look at the graph, which I've not touched on the treble for the Z2 is a little bit better in terms of the presence on the Z2, right? So the presence would affect the energy and the brightness of the female vocals. So female vocals, they sound brighter, they sound more energetic on the Z2. And as for the Max, female vocals, they do sound a little bit relaxed, a little bit laid back behind the instruments. You know, they don't really stand out as compared to the Z2. So in terms of female vocals, I would prefer to listen to female vocals on the Z2. Right, so let's talk about the treble. So as I mentioned, these on the Z2, they sound bright. Treble's bright, sparkles. At times, it's I wouldn't say harsh. In fact, these two IEMs, they don't have harsh treble. This, for that matter, if you take a look at the graph, it's actually a little bit below the Harman target on certain frequencies, but on the whole, it's a pretty okay treble. Okay, it's well controlled, well extended. It's just that the different dips and peaks makes it sound a little bit different. So this right here sounds nice and bright and energetic for certain tracks. Okay, so much so that these sound a little bit laid back to me, a little bit dark, right? So comparing these two, this one sounds a little bit darker in terms of the treble. This one sounds bright with nice energy to it. This sounds a bit tame. Yeah, I would use the word tame. So treble's a little bit tame on these and a little bit laid back. Clarity wise, I would say this one has got a little bit more clarity, extension and roll off. This one sounds a bit more natural. Okay, the Z2 sounds a bit more natural. This one sounds a little bit what's the word for it? Synthesized. Okay, so the treble on these sounds a little bit synthesized, but the treble on these sounds a little bit more natural, and the warmth on this will make it, you know, the treble a little bit darker. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So that's the overall impressions of these two IEMs. Again, this one is $21 and this one is $28. And who are they suitable for? If you like your bass, in terms of bass, these two IEMs, they do a great job, right? If you are a bass head and you love your bass, you will not regret getting these two IEMs. But if you like the brighter side of the track, you don't want it to be too dull and too monotonous, then you'll go for the Z2. But if you like thumpy, deep, thumpy, rumbly bass, then the Max is the one to go for. It produces a wide sound stage, better resolution, better detail retrieval as compared to the Z2. Okay, so yeah, it depends on the genre of music that you listen to, and these two are great recommendations from me if you are listening to either of such music. But for those who listen to classical and instrumental type of orchestra type of music, then you might want to give this IEM a miss. But for those who listen to heavy metal, rock, EDM, electronic music, techno, dark techno, jazz, drum and bass, even R&B especially, if you listen to these type of genre of music, then these two IEMs, they are great recommendations. Okay, so that concludes my review of these two IEMs, the Z2 and the Max. Right, so I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and learned something from this video, and if you did, do consider to give this video a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you get notified of my future videos. Right, so I wish you guys have a great day ahead, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Peace.